Welcome to the HJC Podcast, powered by HockeyJerseyConcepts.com. New episodes go live every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Good day, everyone. This is episode 28 of the HJC Podcast. And this one's actually not the HJC Podcast, as we've moved on from that name. You are now listening to the Jersey Nerds Podcast, powered by HockeyJerseyConcepts.com. It's the same old podcast, but the Jersey Nerds Podcast better represents what we do here. We're all Jersey nerds, so this is the podcast for you, the Jersey Nerds Podcast. This is still episode 28, and today on the podcast, we're going to be looking at the first round playoff series currently going on in the 2018 Stanley Cup playoffs, and not necessarily the results, who's winning, who's losing, but how they look, and just generally who has the better looking home games, so on, and looking over jerseys from each team's history, what would make the ideal jersey matchup. We still have our usual topics that we cover. We have fake or authentic. We still have the mailbag. We do throwback throwdown. So nothing much is changing except for the name of the podcast. I'm Ryan, your host, and joining me this week is Shawn. What's going on, man?
Well, at the time of recording, the Jets are up 1-0 on Minnesota. I don't want to say anything else, but I will say that I have liked the way the Jets have looked in their second ever playoff series in Winnipeg.
Yeah, well, I think everyone's pretty confident that the Jets are going to win that series, and especially with news coming out that Parise is pretty much done here. So I think the Jets are comfortable, and Hellebuyck, I keep saying Hellebuyck, I don't know why. Hellebuyck was nominated for the Vezina, so that's all well good deserved. News. Yeah, well-deserved indeed. All good news coming out of Winnipeg. And it's funny to think that they opened up the first game of the year, what was it, 7-1 or 7-2 to the Leafs?
I remember, and now look at where they are.
Now look at where they are, yeah. I remember, it's funny that the topic in the first couple weeks or first week of the season was that Winnipeg couldn't keep the puck out of their net. And by the end of the season, their goalie is nominated for the Vezina. So that's, I guess it's just proof. Don't overreact to the first month of the season because it's always chaos. All right, so we're going to start with our first round playoff series. Not looking at results or anything, just looking at how they look aesthetically. All right, so last week we did our live podcast. We've already gotten our previews out of the way, and the first round is well underway. But now let's look at the jerseys that each team is wearing. And so for the live podcast, we started in the West. Let's continue with that trend. Let's look at Nashville and Colorado. Looking at this, I mean, we've talked all year about how Nashville's jerseys are horrible, and Colorado has made such an improvement. So it's kind of a tale of Beauty and the Beast here. But, Shawn, maybe which team's home games do you prefer in this series? Which ones look better?
I will say I do prefer Colorado's home games, despite there only being one. Frankly, because Nashville's white jersey, I have the minority opinion of thinking is better. And on top of that, I do really like how Colorado's home jersey looks. On top of that, the Nashville raincoats, despite, the Smashville playoff atmosphere being really nice, it's not the same as last year. The lack of blue on the jersey really does hurt it. Yeah,
the jersey stinks, but I'm going to take a different approach. I still like the way the Nashville game looks, and that's because the whole arena embraces the yellow. I mean, the jerseys are still awful, and I don't think that's going to be fixed for a long time. But because Nashville embraces the yellow, the fans come out in yellow, the dasher boards are yellow, the stanchions are yellow. Just love what Nashville does there. So I do prefer the way the games look in Nashville, but Colorado, as we've mentioned, has the better jerseys. And I think you're right that the home jersey is probably the better of the two. But Nashville's jerseys, if Nashville probably had half decent jerseys, maybe the Colorado home games would look better.
I completely agree with that. I think that it's one of those cases where if Nashville's wearing exactly what they wore last year, and Colorado's wearing exactly what they're wearing this year, you'd have one of the better looking matchups in the NHL right now.
Oh, that would be so good. Or if Nashville was wearing almost any of the concepts that came into the blog this season, it would look better. But let's look through the history, and we'll include the Quebec Nordiques here in Colorado's history. Choose one jersey that they could wear, and maybe one jersey that Nashville could wear to make this the ideal looking series.
This is very controversial, I think, but I really like Nashville's original jerseys with the Gaylord Center shoulder patch on them and the triangle around the logo. That being said, just wear last year's jerseys. I'll be blunt. Like, I would love to come here with the unpopular opinion and defend those jerseys. And as nice as those would be, they killed it last year with the yellow jerseys. As for Colorado, as much of a fan as I am as the blue script jersey, it's the original brighter burgundy 95-96 jerseys I got to give it to.
From the 1996 Stanley Cup Final, and Huey Krupp and John Van Beesbrook and all those characters. Yeah, I'm totally on board with you. Last year's Nashville yellow sweaters, yellow helmets, that's the way to go. It's not possible, but it would have been awesome to see that against Colorado's blue alternate from last year. It can't happen. It's not ever going to happen. But that would be, if I'm going to piece together the ideal series for these two teams, it's Nashville's home last year against Colorado's blue alternate from last year. I think that would look awesome. But let's keep moving along here. Let's start with Winnipeg and Minnesota now. So, for this one, we're going to include Atlanta's jersey history when we get there. But first, let's talk about the series, because this may be one of the strongest looking series in the playoffs.
I completely agree with that. What does it for me, and I am biased as a Winnipeg fan, I love the whiteout. I love that it's a big FU to the sea of red. But most of all, I like in the latest iteration of the Jets how the navy goes really nicely into the whiteout. That the amount of navy on the jerseys works really well. So the guys are on the ice in dark blue, all navy, but the fans are in the stands wearing all white. And it's this really nice sort of thing where, there's this really nice, connectivity between the fans. Unfortunately, Minnesota doesn't have that because they've recently switched from having a red home to a green home. So when you get to Minnesota, despite the fact that their home jerseys are really nice, arguably better than Winnipeg's, the fans look like Christmas sweaters.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem because you have a lot of fans and they wear the Edge homes or the Edge alternates or the Addy Zero aways. Those are the three jerseys I saw the most. You don't see a lot of original Wild gear.
Yeah, that's true. And they changed so much, so I guess that you always got to be buying the new jersey to keep up with it. So for me, I think both these teams have excellent jerseys. I think Minnesota's jerseys are a little bit better than Winnipeg's. But I really can't choose between the two home games. I mean, Winnipeg's home games look awesome. I prefer the navy jersey over the white jersey. Minnesota, I prefer. I don't know. I think they're both equal. They look so different. They look different enough that they aren't quite looking like they're included in the same set. So it's hard for me to choose, but I guess the Winnipeg fans in the whiteout sway me to say that the Winnipeg home games look better in this series. So let's do the historical look at these two teams. So if you had to choose the best Winnipeg jersey of all time / Atlanta and the best Minnesota Wild jersey of all time, what would you create here?
I would take the current Jets home. I think that is better than any Thrashers jersey, and I think that's a jersey I want to see around for a while. But for Minnesota, I'm going to go with their original green jersey. That's a jersey that recently has grown on me a lot, and since the team has brought back the green look, I almost miss of course, it's stapled in time, and it would date the jerseys horribly. But that Coho sort of, not garbage bag look, but glossy finish that the upper arms had during that period.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is something that Minnesota had. They had lightning in a bottle with that, and it worked during that era. And if I could see that versus the current Winnipeg, you get this really nice navy and green.
I think for Minnesota, for me, it should be acknowledged that their red jersey, when it was an alternate back in 2003, I think they really started the trend of the faux back look and teams going back a ways into their look. So I think that should be acknowledged. However, I don't think it's their best jersey. It's certainly an exceptional jersey, but it's not their best. Looking at the options here, I prefer Minnesota's most recent green alternate jersey. I think that's their best green jersey. But I think their current road white is better than that jersey. So I'd say the best option for these two is what we're getting right now when the games are played in Winnipeg. That's my favorite all-time look between these two teams. And this series may be, looking at the options here on paper, Boston-Toronto looks great because it's classic, but this one is more modern, but it still looks fantastic. So I'd say Winnipeg at home with Minnesota in their road whites is the best looking series of the playoffs. I don't know if you agree with me.
I would like to. I think that I have to give it to Boston, Toronto, but it really isn't fair to give it to them because, I mean, while Toronto's had recent jerseys, it's the same Boston jersey we've seen for the past decade and a bit, and it's not even my favorite Bruins jersey of all time. So I will actually say that Minnesota-Winnipeg is the best-looking series in the playoffs right now.
All right, so we agree on that one. Let's move on over to Vegas and L.A. I mean, we're not going to have too many options here, or we're going to have one option for Vegas as far as their history goes. L.A. has a very colorful jersey history. Well, a varied jersey history, not so much colorful. But let's start with which home games look the best. This isn't a colorful series. Some people have a problem with LA's black and silver and white jerseys. I love them. It's the LA look that I grew up with. But just who has the best looking home jersey, or which home game looks the best for you, Shawn?
I have to say I agree with you with LA's road jersey. I will defend that jersey constantly, namely for the hem stripe. But on top of that, I just think it's a really nice use of the black, silver, and white color scheme. The LA's black jerseys I've never been particularly a fan of. And Vegas's white jerseys, I felt that despite the fact that I really liked them at the beginning of the year, they've kind of faded on me. I don't like the lack of black on them. Vegas's home jerseys, I think, do a lot better job. So I would say the better-looking games are in Vegas. And on top of that, the atmosphere is a lot better in Vegas. LA really hasn't shown up in this series. Both in terms of how they play, but also in terms of home atmosphere. When you're watching the highlights, I didn't really get sucked into the playoff atmosphere in LA. Meanwhile, in Vegas, they got the helmet down. The fans are showing up in their jerseys. Vegas is coming to see their team do something in the playoffs, and they could be on the way to a sweep.
Yeah, Vegas is dynamite. I'm gonna have to agree with you. The home games in Vegas, they look the best. The fans, the atmosphere, that contributes to it. So, and Vegas's charcoal jersey is fantastic. One problem I keep having in Canada, Dave Randorf for Sportsnet is the play-by-play guy for that series. And at least 3 times during this series, he has referred to Vegas's home jerseys as black. And they're clearly gray. The helmets are gray. The gloves are gray. The socks are gray. Just driving jersey nerds nuts. Get it straight.
It's not Romanuk bad, but it's...
Oh, my goodness. I mean, we're going to have this question a little bit later in Fake or Authentic, but yeah, Romanuk is awful. Just awful.
As Leaf supporters, I don't think you can even come close to saying anything nice about Romanuk.
Goodness, no, but we'll get to that. So we don't have many options. We have one option for Vegas, but if you could piece together the greatest looking all-time series between Vegas and LA, what do you have?
This is a tough one because unlike you, I didn't grow up with LA being black and silver. I had the addition of Form Blue coming back. And with that, and I know how much everybody hates the script on the hem, I'm going to have to say the best looking series would be if Vegas rolls out in their current jerseys and LA rolls out in the Shield jerseys. I debated whether or not the original Form Blue jerseys would work or the later Marcel Dion, Luc Robitaille jerseys would look any good. And I just don't see that charcoal and Form Blue really look any good together.
I think you're talking about the 98 Shield jerseys from LA?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Yeah, with when they finally brought back Form Blue. Weren't at that time, I think they called it purple by that time, didn't they? They got rid of the Form Blue. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Colorworks used to be able to provide that information, but not so much anymore. For me, the Vegas gray jersey is what I'm choosing, and I would love to see the Kings wearing the gold Reebok Edge throwbacks that they wore. It wouldn't necessarily look awesome together, but the brightness and the vibrancy of both jerseys would really pop and really represent both cities in the series. So if I were to put together an all-time matchup for a playoff series, that's what I would choose.
What would you think of a battle of the gray jerseys? At least alternate from last year.
Alternate
takes on Vegas Charcoal.
Or Stadium Series?
No, they're alternate. The 50th anniversary jersey.
Okay, because I actually prefer the Stadium Series to the 50th anniversary. But,
wow.
I mean, if LA could alter their gray jersey and lighten up the gray a little bit, I think it could work. I think their gray jersey was a little bit dark to be playing against Vegas's charcoal jersey. But, I mean, it could definitely be interesting. I think an alteration to LA's jersey, lighten up the gray. It still has to be gray. Don't make it white. But lighten up the gray and broaden some of the gold or purple trim. And I think that could look pretty neat. I think that would be very interesting. So, and then just throw Felix Potvin on the ice for the Kings and everything's set.
Oh, that takes me back. That's the only team I saw Felix Potvin ever play for. So,
and they upset the Wings, I think, one of his playoff runs with the Kings. So, I think last year the Kings actually brought back Potvin and then wore throwback jerseys for that game. Or this year, and then they didn't wear any throwback jerseys, but they brought him back for one night for their Legends night. I didn't know he was a Kings legend, but apparently he is. Let's stick in California. We have Anaheim and San Jose. Which home game looks the best here, Shawn?
I've never been a fan of Anaheim's black jerseys, simply for the fact that not only do they have the awful phantom yoke, but the white jerseys, when combined with the gear, do a really good job of color balancing, despite the fact that the jerseys on their own have those awful orange swooshes on them that don't really connect to the black yoke. When you add the player's gear, it looks really nice. On top of that, San Jose's teal jerseys are absolutely gorgeous. Their white jerseys are a little plain, particularly with the black gear, so I'm going to have to say that San Jose hosting the game. San Jose's playoff atmosphere is always fantastic. They're in the playoffs so often, they must be doing something right, both in terms of playing well and hosting games. You got the shark head, and teal, generally speaking, pops more than black.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. The one thing that's starting to bother me with San Jose's current white jerseys are the white SJ shoulder patches. They're getting lost on the jersey, I found. I mean, they're big, they're prominent, they're trying to be prominent, but for me, the white SJ and the outline on it is just not thick enough to look like a solid shoulder patch for that jersey. And then they go ahead and they don't even use that on the teal home jersey. So, but I agree with you that Sharks at home looks best in this series. Let's go to historical look. Again, I'm going to create a mishmash that can never happen, but I'm going to take the Sharks and their Edge retros that they wore for their anniversary of the original Shark jerseys, and I'm going to put that up against Anaheim's orange alternate for last year, and that would look fantastic. Or, I'm really going to go off the beaten path here. Let's take Wild Wing and put it up against San Jose's original white jersey. Now we're talking. That's a playoff series.
I'm going to go a little off the beaten path with this one. I'm going to pick San Jose's original black jersey, which is one of my favorite, black jerseys ever. Just in terms of the fact that the black really popped, the white numbers popped, there was enough teal on it to satisfy fans, and I love the Sharks retro logo. And I'm going to put that up against, of all things, Anaheim's white alternate from the 90s and early 2000s, because I've always been a fan of the round numbers, of the two sort of, race car style striped jerseys. That was by far the better one of them, and it was one that I think that they could have kept well up to the dropping of the mighty.
All right, these two teams certainly could put together some very 90s looking series, and I think people would still enjoy them as a brief throwback nowadays. So that one so far is looking like the most creative series that we could that we're going to come across. Let's move to the East now, and the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the New Jersey Devils. For me, this one's a bit of a plain series. I really despise that New Jersey has taken away their hem stripes this year. The jersey doesn't look as bad as I thought it would, but it's a downgrade from what they had. Tampa Bay, these jerseys have not grown on me like I thought they would. I was really thinking they would be great because they have a classic look. I was disappointed when they took away the Tampa Bay script on the white jersey. So I'm going to have to say, and they look like Leaf clones almost. Leafs and Wings Love Child, which came out when these jerseys first came out. But I'm going to have to say the New Jersey home games look best in this series. How about you, Shawn?
I'm going to agree with you on this one, Ryan. I do think that Tampa has a very nice playoff atmosphere, but at the same time, I'm a big fan of New Jersey's red jerseys. Despite the fact that I do quite like New Jersey's new jerseys, I just wish they corrected the problem I've always had with New Jersey's white jerseys in that they have black yolks, which upsets the color balance. And I get that they've done it so much. It's like Pittsburgh and the yellow upper arm yolks on the white jersey. It's just something they do, and you can't really get around that. I agree with you 100% on Tampa. These are Leaf Wing clone jerseys, and the only thing that kept them from being that was the Tampa Bay script above the logo, because that was sort of something that differentiated, made it a little modern. That's gone. The white jersey was the better of the two during the Edge years. And on top of that, this is really the series that would benefit from a color versus color.
Oh, that would be so good. And we know that blue versus red could work, so I wouldn't be surprised to see the NHL move in that direction. I mean, the NBA is kind of allowing it, and, Adidas has the NHL in their back pocket or vice versa, so it seems. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen in the NHL in the future. All right, let's put together a historically good-looking series here. I'm going to take Tampa Bay, my favorite all-time jersey for Tampa Bay. I love the original font that they used on their jersey, both when it was straight and italicized. But my favorite all-time Tampa Bay jersey is the blue one that said Bolts across the front. I would have preferred a logo, but Bolts was fine by me, and I thought the jersey really looked excellent. So I'm going to take that jersey, and I'm going to put it up against New Jersey's white jersey after they switched away from red and green. That would be the ideal series here for me. Shawn?
I've always loved the Tampa Bay's original Edge jerseys. I know everybody hates that template. I've always been a big fan of them. I'm a little nostalgic for them. But the 93-94 Bolts jerseys with the italicized, metallic-looking font, that black jersey takes on New Jersey's original white jersey. I've always been a big fan of New Jersey's green and red white jersey. I think that those two up against each other would be one of the most classic 90s series you could think of.
And yet Tampa Bay was never around or in existence for New Jersey's green and red run. So that's
1 year short.
1 year short, exactly. And then when Tampa Bay came in, they played in the Leafs, the Chuck Norris division, which was always fun. It wasn't called Chuck Norris; it was the Norris division, but still. Anyways, that's an aside. All right, let's go to my favorite series, at least from the team involved, Boston and Toronto. What's your favorite home game here in this series, Shawn?
Well, Toronto for sure, because, who likes a Boston fan? In all seriousness, no. Boston's white jerseys, I think, are the better of the two. I've never been a huge fan of Boston with big yellow yolks. I've always preferred the Cam Neely, Rick Middleton respectable team jerseys. On top of that, Toronto's white jerseys are admittedly very plain. They always have been. They always will be. That's the way Toronto is. The blue jerseys are beautiful. There's a reason why most Leafs jerseys you see are the blue ones, and this one is no exception.
And I'm going to go with actually the Boston home games. And I think both games look equal. The ACC is known for being as loud as a morgue, so they do get a little bit louder during the playoffs. But for me, when I think about Toronto playing Boston, and it probably comes from when I was growing up and home teams were wearing white, but when I think of Toronto and Boston, I think of Boston in black and Toronto in white. So for me, that's the home game that I like in this series. Now, as far as the historical matchup goes, we have tons of options to choose from. But Shawn, I'll let you go first on this one. Put together your favorite historical jersey matchup, Toronto and Boston.
Ryan, you hate these jerseys, but they are the Leafs jerseys I grew up on, particularly the TML shoulder patch.
I actually like the stripes, but the TML shoulder patch and the silver numbering or the silver trim on the numbering is what I don't
I'd go
like.
with the rounded numbers.
With the rounded numbers from the 90s, okay.
I'd take the 97 to 2000 round numbers, even if I don't get my beloved TML shoulder patch. I'd take the rounded numbers. So let's go 97 to 2000 blue jersey. That's the Leafs jersey I wear all the time. And for the Boston white jersey, I'm actually going to throw out a jersey that I've never been a huge fan of up until recently. And that would be the 81, you could say as early as 74 to 95 road jersey.
Oh, really? The Ray Bourque era.
Exactly. Well, actually, that would be the home jersey then. The Ray Bourque era, exactly. Those jerseys are beautiful. I feel like it's a similar thing to what Anaheim does with their jerseys in that the jersey itself does not have good color balancing, but the gear saves it.
All right, very interesting on that one. I always found those uninspired, and the shoulder logo was almost as bad as the Pooh Bear logo from the alternate, but still.
Don't insult the Pooh Bear logo, man.
All right, if I'm going to build my ideal look here, again, I'm going to go with something that's not possible, but that's the whole fun of the podcast. I'm going to head outside for both teams, and I'm going to look at 2010 for the Bruins and their yellow Winter Classic jersey, and the Leafs 2014 Winter Classic jersey. And for me, that would be an ideal Bruins-Leafs matchup. I think that Bruins Winter Classic jersey, when you first looked at it, you thought the color was black. Turns out to be the dark brown. I think that jersey is just top-notch. The B logo is so retro and so awesome. The Leafs Winter Classic jersey was just done to perfection, stuck with blue and white, weren't sucked into using vintage white on that one. So that would be the ideal Toronto-Boston matchup for me. And hopefully the Leafs come out of the stupor that they've been in now. They have won one game as of this recording and try and take down the Bruins, but that seems like a monumental task at this time.
I will say, though, era for era, the 70s probably would have had the best jerseys, and it would have been one of the best playoff matchups, period, I think. Incredibly dated.
You're going with the 70s. Those Leaf jerseys are probably the worst for me.
I love those.
Worse than the TML patch. I would take
worse than the original Edge.
Oh, no. You're right. Wow, the TML patch just keeps getting pushed up the list here. The worst thing in Leafs history were the original Edge jerseys. Then
do you own one?
I do. I own both, the home and the road. Had to, right?
I only have the road, and the road is I will say the road is by far the worst of them.
And I got some quality Leafs numbered on the back of those. I got number 2, Luke Schenn on my blue home jersey, and number 14, Matt Stajan on the road jersey. So
that's a quality player who never excelled in Toronto, and Braden Schenn's brother.
That's what it's turned into. Remember, they were both in Philadelphia, and it was supposed to be the mega tandem, but Luke Schenn his first year was his best ever year, and now he's trying to just stay in the league, which is amazing.
He's in Arizona now at this point.
Yeah, he's played for maybe 6 different teams at this point. It's crazy. Very interesting. 5th overall pick right there. And the Leafs traded him to Philadelphia for JVR, so finally a trade that the Leafs actually won on that one. We got to keep moving along here. Let's look at Washington and Columbus. This is a very interesting series because both teams are wearing extremely similar colors. Shawn, which game is the best looking home game?
I've always liked it since Washington readopted the big red machine look that they went back to, embracing that. At the same time, though, Columbus's blue jersey is one of my favorite. I've defended it on the podcast. It's one of my favorite Addy Zero jerseys. I own one, for goodness sakes. On top of that, I'm just bored of Washington's jerseys at this point. They've looked the same now for more than 10 seasons. They took this stupid template that didn't even particularly look great in the Edge template, and now it's on Addy Zero, and it looks worse. On top of that, I'm kind of growing tired of Washington's duller color scheme, particularly the red. I think the red could use a brightening up, not to the point where it's like 70s, 80s, and 90s bright, but to the point where the navy pops more.
All right. So which one do you like? Which home game is your favorite here?
Oh, Columbus by far, and not
Columbus
just because they have a cannon.
Well, see, that's what pushes it for me. I think they're both equal. I like the Capitals jersey. It's one of those jerseys where I think the script works. Keep a script. Washington, a script works for you. Keep going with it, because when you use the logo, I was not a fan. We're going to do the historical look in a little bit. But if I'm going to make a historically worse look for this series, I'm taking Washington's, what did they call it? Metallic blue? What was that blue? Victory blue?
Columbia blue.
Columbia blue from the mid-90s. And I'm going to put it against Columbus's original white home jerseys. And that's probably the worst looking.
Ryan,
the worst
you just revealed my matchup.
Oh no, that is the worst looking. The worst.
I'm just kidding. On one of them. One of them is not the case, but you did reveal one of my picks.
No. Okay, well let's get to that. I'll reveal my pick first. I think the best looking Columbus jersey of all time is their first alternate, the navy one with the current logo, black sleeves, and I'm going to throw that up against the Capitals white jersey that they wore from 74 to 95. I think that would be the best looking series between these two teams. Go ahead, Shawn. Reveal to everyone what two jerseys you're taking in this matchup.
All right, so if you don't know, the Columbia Blue Capitals jersey is one of my favorite NHL jerseys of all time. It's like number 2 on the list now. It was at one point number 1. I love that jersey to death, but Washington's 2015 Winter Classic jersey is probably the best jersey they have ever worn. It's a beautiful jersey. I love the yoke stripes. I love the logo itself. It's so simple, but it works so well. For Columbus, you said it already. I'm like the one person in the world that loves Stinger. I love the Volt green or whatever it is, and I love Columbus's original logo. I think that their original 2001 away or home jersey away now with the wider numbers, because I always liked that Columbus wore these really wide, fat numbers for one season, and then the next season just shrunk them. The Leafs did a similar thing in the era, but yeah, it just, if you looked at the 8s, they're very big. Like Jeff Sanderson's number actually took up, I think, like if you look at a regular jersey, what a single digit looks like, Jeff Sanderson takes about another, I would say half a digit just on how fat it is. So those two jerseys together.
The only thing that I like that came out of Columbus's inaugural year was the hidden kind of B stripe pattern that was in their blue jersey. So it's actually alternating navy, big broad stripes going across the chest, similar to what Ottawa's alternate was in 2017, but it went all the way up the chest, all the way down the sleeves. You can't really see it. Even I'm looking at NHLuniforms.com right now, and they don't seem to acknowledge it, but it was there. If you get an original Columbus Blue Jackets jersey, the B stripe pattern is sublimated into the jersey. So that was an exceptional Columbus jersey there too. All right, let's move on to our final series here. The Battle of Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. Shawn, which home game looks the best?
This is such a tough one to pick because both teams, I think, are wearing a weaker identity than they could. They're both doing throwback for throwback's sake. But I've always liked Philadelphia's orange playoff motif. I like Pittsburgh in black and gold, and that's the way they do it. And I'm sure Steve and Justin and Beepo are going to tell me how wrong I am about this. But I'm giving it to Philly on this one. I was a Flyers fan at one point in my youth, so I got to give it to the Flyers.
And I'm going to take Pittsburgh because I think Pittsburgh's white jerseys, they're nice, they're good, but they're a lot less. They pop a lot less than the black jerseys. So I'm going to say Pittsburgh home games look the best for me, and I also much prefer the arena. I find Philadelphia's arena on TV comes across as very like a concrete bowl, pretty much. I know they're all made out of concrete and steel, but I just find it very dark and gloomy, and maybe that's probably because the Leafs haven't had much success there in the last 20 years. But for me, Pittsburgh's home games look the best. Let's go to historical matchups, and I'm on NHLuniforms.com, a great resource. That's just an aside there, but I'm going to specifically say 87-88, just before the Penguins adopted the jerseys that they'd go on to win their first 2 Stanley Cups in. I'm taking the black jersey. Now, this one had broader numbers. It had a serifed font on the back. Everything was plastic and screen printed. And I'm going to take the 87-88 Black Penguins jersey and put it up against the 87-88 Philadelphia Flyers jerseys. Oh, no. Oh, I'm going to change that. Cooperalls, 82-83. I'm looking at the Cooperalls. I'm taking them right now from 82-83. So there's my ideal Pittsburgh-Philly series. Shawn, what do you got?
I have to make an aside first. I'm looking at a game-worn 2000-2001 Columbus jersey, and Ryan is absolutely correct. It is very subtle.
Super subtle.
But there's a B pattern in there.
Yeah, get your hands on one because it's
check your OG Blue Jacket jerseys because you could have something that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even recognize it.
All right, my pick will have to be the Flyers 90s, line of death or whatever it was called, Renberg, Leclerc, Lindros, whatever that was called.
Legion of Doom.
Legion of Doom, thank you. The Legion of Doom line jerseys. And for the simple reason that I love the colors on them. I am a huge fan of the Edge road jerseys, but Pittsburgh's jersey has to be a road in this case because it's my favorite Pittsburgh jersey. So we're going with Philly's best orange jersey. And as for Pittsburgh, I know that people don't like it when you pick outdoor jerseys for this, but the 2014 stadium, the Soldier Field jerseys.
Oh boy,
I love those jerseys. Even with the Vegas gold, you could put an athletic gold and look fine, but I love the look of the Vegas gold in that. I love the elongated numbers. I love the striping. It was a unique jersey. They should have kept it.
I'm surprised you didn't go with Philly's black jersey, Shawn.
I've never liked Philly's black jersey for 2 reasons. Number one, when I was 8, Robert Ashe gave me nightmares. Not mostly because he beat my poor Toronto Maple Leafs in the year they were supposed to win the cup. And on top of that, I've never liked when Philly used a lot of white.
Yeah,
with the black white. When Philly doesn't embrace the orange, that's when I think the worst jersey they ever wore was their Edge home jersey, the original Edge home jerseys. Because you had this really nice road jersey that suited itself perfectly for an orange version of that. And you would have had like the only Edge cookie cutter jersey that would be superior to what it was replacing. And yet, they went with keeping the black jersey. That would have been fine as an alternate. Go ahead. But yeah, those have never been something that I've really liked. I do love Philly's Stadium Series jersey, though.
Yeah, that is a strong jersey. And I think I saw a report, maybe it was Aesthetics, that jersey is supposed to be coming back as an alternate for 2018-19. So
yeah, with very minor changes, which I think just means they're going to move the numbers around.
Yeah, and Adidas collar and the whole deal there. All right, so that was us looking at the first round playoff series. Which games look best? A historical review. Hope you enjoyed that. Still to come on the podcast, we're still giving away HJC stickers, so take a listen for that. Remember, we've changed our name. You're no longer listening to the HJC podcast. This is the Jersey Nerds podcast, powered by HockeyJerseyConcepts.com. We're coming right back with Throwback Throwdown. Here we go with Throwback Throwdown, a playoff edition. And tonight we're going to be looking at Nashville's mustard alternate jerseys from the early 2000s. We got 2001 to 2007 they used it. And it's going to go up against their first round opponent this year in the playoffs, the Colorado Avalanche, their original alternate jersey, which they also wore from 2001 to 2007. Let's start off with descriptions. Nashville's mustard jersey. This yellow was created by combining 2 fabrics. I believe one was layered over top of the other. We have a kind of swoosh silver saber-tooth design almost down by the cuffs with blue in the middle, white trim on top of fully blue cuffs. This has fully blue underarm mesh kind of inserts there, similar to how it was on Buffalo's Edge jersey, but much bigger. We have the saber-toothed tiger, very cold-looking logo coming out the front. Nashville script right by the squared collar. This was the Bonehead logo. I'm sure there's other names for it. On the shoulders, they stuck with the same font. They're just known as the Nashville mustard jerseys, and everyone knows what you're probably talking about. Colorado, this is the Colorado red jersey, or Avs burgundy, whatever you want to call it. Really love the arm striping here. Thin red stripe in the middle, 2 white stripes, broad white stripes surrounding that, thin blue stripes, thin black stripes. Pretty similar on the hem too, except without the middle red stripe. We got a black collar with laces and Colorado script diagonally across the front. Shawn, start with your review of Nashville's mustard jersey.
I have to admit I'm nostalgic for this jersey. I do remember it. I remember using it a lot in video games. At the same time, the thing about it is if you go into NHL uniforms right now, it is much too dark. I get why they've represented it like this because it can look that dark, but it's not that dark. It's a very dull color. You're exactly right. It's very similar to what Atlanta did with their alternate, in that it's a dark color and a light color meshing over each other, and depending on how you look at it, it'll look a certain way. The biggest problem I have with this is the square collar and the shoulder patches. Other than that, for the air, it was actually pretty decent.
I'm going to have to agree with you. I mean, this jersey is really growing on me over time. I think also I like it because so many people don't like it and want to sit there and tell you how much they don't like it, which is fair. That it's gotten a name that's supposed to have negative connotations, the mustard yellow Preds jersey. I think that's a term of endearment for this jersey. I think it's really cool how they've made the color of the jerseys. I think the logos are exceptional. I think Nashville has the swooping stripes on them, which you can represent the sharp teeth of the saber-toothed tiger, of the predator, whatever you want to call it. Unlike you, I do enjoy the square collar here, the Nashville script under the collar, the shoulder logo, which became very popular, started being used on the home and road jerseys too, as well in 2005. Just a big fan of this mustard jersey, and over time, as I've said, it's growing on me. So let's take a look at Colorado's first alternate jersey. This is their script burgundy jersey. Shawn, what are your thoughts on this one?
Another jersey I'm very nostalgic for. My biggest problem I've had with it is, and it comes down to the fact that Colorado had a burgundy home jersey already, and they made a burgundy alternate. It's a nice looking alternate, but it did not stand out. It's very simple. It's very plain. I do like the thicker black outline on the numbers. I'm with you. I very much like the striping, and I do think Colorado is a team that pulls off the script logo really nicely. And this is the jersey that proved it, and it would continue into the Edge era. But I feel like it was an opportunity to make a really solid blue jersey, and they passed up on it.
Did they correct that, do you think, later on for you?
I think that given the design era, they did. I'm a big fan of that jersey. I'll always remember my favorite Leaf, Darcy Tucker, wearing that when he played his 2 seasons in Colorado. The problem with it was during an era where hem stripes were, not allowed in the NHL, basically, and pit stains were popular.
Yeah.
That being said, of the original alternates from the Edge era, that one is probably aged the best.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a fan of the blue one. As far as this one is not aged well for me. I've lost I've lost interest in it as time has gone on. I love the arm stripes. I love that the arm stripes were the basis of the blue jersey when it came out in the Edge era. I've grown. I didn't mind the script at all. I thought it totally worked, but as time has gone on, I don't hate it, but I certainly don't love it as much as I do. I think just using the standard primary logo would have been great on here. As you mentioned, the numbers are outlined really nicely. Nice thick black outline. Also in that outline is the Colorado blue. So that's really well done. I think this jersey, I loved it when it came out. It was really cool. Really cool alternate for Colorado, I thought. It's lost its luster over time, which is the opposite of the Nashville jersey. So naturally, for this Throwback Throwdown, I'm going to have to give my W to the Nashville jersey. How about you, Shawn?
Make it a clean sweep because I much prefer the Nashville jersey. And again, as time goes on, I think we're going to see this jersey because at one point, Hockey News had it as one of the worst jerseys of NHL history. And you are exactly right that it is one of those jerseys that, people, so-called jersey experts, love to pick on as the easy pick for an ugly jersey because they took a chance, they took a risk, and some of it didn't work, and some of it is very dated, but a lot of it did work, and a lot of it wasn't appreciated at the time.
And I think it was probably the basis, or at least the idea of it was the basis of the Predators in 2011 owning gold, owning yellow, because they had a yellow jersey in the past, and it worked. There was a reason they kept it around for 6 years, and it wasn't just to bother everyone. So I think in some way it inspired the current color that the Predators are using now. So,
well, I mean, they had the checkerboard jersey ready to go, and we know this. They had a set ready to go, but they chose gold, and I think you're exactly right. It had something to do with the gold alternate, and that jersey is very valuable right now for that exact reason.
Yeah. Speaking of those white checkerboard jerseys, go look at them. That's on my jersey hit list. I need one of those in my collection. There's only on ice ready, team issued, you could call them, white checkerboard Nashville jerseys out there. They were auctioned off. I think they made 2 for every player. This was back in 2010 or 2011, and the Preds auctioned them off because they weren't going to go that route. But like Shawn said, they got them ready. So that jersey, if anyone finds one, get your hands on it if you can. So for this Throwback Throwdown, Nashville wins 2-0, and their mustard jerseys win 2-0 over Colorado's first alternate jersey. So now it's time to give away a free HJC sticker, and this one's fairly easy. Sometime over the next week, the HJC Twitter account is going to tweet out a tweet with a link to the podcast. It's going to tell you to retweet that tweet, and if you do, you're entered to win an HJC sticker. The winner will be announced on the podcast next week. Another kicker, you got to listen to the podcast. We don't contact winners. You got to listen to the podcast, find out if you won. You then contact us with shipping information. That way we get you listening to the podcast. So heads up this week for the HJC sticker tweet. Coming up next, fake or authentic? Fake or authentic? Fake or authentic? This is where I come up with 3 statements, and everyone who's joining me on a particular week's episode answers whether or not they are fake or authentic, much like all the jerseys you see around your team's arena. Fake or authentic. That's a good game. If you're going to the game, it's a side game you can play. Fake or authentic. Find jerseys in the audience and you say fake or authentic. And if they're fake, you ridicule them. Anyways, let's get to our fake or authentic. 3 statements. Here we go. Statement number 1, fake or authentic. We've been hearing some conflicted reports, but fake or authentic, all 31 teams will have alternate sweaters next season. What are you thinking, Shawn?
I'm going to take a risk on this and say authentic because I can see it as something Adidas wants to do, even for teams. We can't count New Jersey now as one of those teams that won't do an alternate because they've changed their jerseys. But Montreal, Chicago, Detroit, unless they're throwbacks, which is very possible, I don't think we'll see an alternate. And again, I mean, we look who the Leafs GM is. We know how he feels about alternates. We'll see what goes on with that. But I will say that authentic.
Yeah, initially I was authentic. I was on board thinking all 31 teams were going to have alternates. But as time has gone on, I haven't seen any more reports saying that all teams would have alternates. And I've seen more and more reports saying that only 2/3 of the teams would have alternates. So at the end of the day, I'm fake on this one. I don't think we're going to see all 31 teams but have alternates. But like you said, Shawn, that's something that Adidas would do. They're looking to make a ton of money, so why not pump out 31 new jerseys next season, plus outdoors and specialties and all that kind of stuff. Statement number 2, fake or authentic. I'm okay with my team playing afternoon hockey games. Shawn, fake or authentic?
I will say that it's completely authentic so long as it's my team that is playing the afternoon game. I hate when teams do this, and we saw it with the Toronto game. On the Atlantic coast, we had a game start at what was local time 9 o'clock for an Eastern game. So 8 p.m. Eastern.
Right, because
9 here.
NBC
that meant that game kept going. it was an extra hour. Like you thought it was playing Chicago or something. But if your team's playing an afternoon game, I will say, and this is coming from a university student, I don't mind it at all. It's a good sort of afternoon break, studying for exams, watch a hockey game. You don't have to take up your evening. You can focus on other things. But on the other hand, I am in the Atlantic provinces. This is a very specific time zone. We're an hour ahead of Eastern. And, I feel like in Eastern, it is kind of annoying. Like 1 or 2 p.m., you're hitting the afternoon wall. You don't really want to have to sit through a hockey game.
I'm going to go with fake on this one. When the Leafs are playing in the afternoon, drives me nuts. They had the Next Century game this past season. That was 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Nothing about it feels right. I know a lot of other teams do it Saturday and Sunday afternoon games, so it's normal in the league. But it's when my team is playing an afternoon game, it doesn't feel right. An evening game is for me. Yet when it's 8 o'clock, like it was last Saturday, Leafs and Bruins, and that was for NBC, that drove me nuts because that was going too late. So, excuse me, for me, this is fake. Leafs, let's stick with 7 or 7:30 p.m. Eastern starts. Our final statement, this was originally going to be about NBC, but Shawn and I are both emanating from Canada this week. So we're going to say fake or authentic. Sportsnet provides a high-quality hockey broadcast. Shawn, fake or authentic?
If Jim Houston and Craig Simpson are doing it, then yes. Those two know how to call hockey games. They don't. They don't do it enough. We're stuck with Paul Romanuk. And I know that I shouldn't say that Paul Romanuk doesn't like the Leafs, but if you ever noticed how much he seems to cheer when the Bruins score versus how much excitement is in his voice when the Leafs score, I've even seen him pause when the Leafs score, like it's a chore for him to announce that Mitch Marner just scored a goal. But Rick Nash can just flip a puck over Freddie Anderson and hit him, and it should be a goalie interference call, but it's Boston, so they're not going to get the call because Brad Marchand's licking someone. So that's a goal, and he'll get all excited and talk about how a great player Rick Nash is. And again, I'm one of the last people who will say that refs or announcers are biased. But Paul Romanuk, you got some proving to do.
I don't personally believe that announcers are biased, the home broadcasters, sure, they can be biased because they're only broadcasting to one market. But national broadcasters, like what you're getting in the playoffs with Sportsnet, for me, no. This is fake. Sportsnet does not provide a high quality hockey broadcast. On its own, you could probably say it's high quality, but based on what we used to get, TSN set the standard, but then, 5 years ago, Rogers rolled up, who owns Sportsnet, with their truck of cash and just dumped it on the NHL's front door. And so that's just how the world works. That's why Sportsnet has the broadcast rights. But they still are not able to provide a high-quality hockey broadcast. Hockey Insiders, where do they come from? TSN. So even your intermission stuff from Sportsnet is not going to be nearly as good. It's always going to be second rate to TSN. We mentioned Paul Romanuk. During the season, he mostly does Leafs regional broadcasts. So they moved Joe Bowen, who's been doing Leaf games forever. They moved him off TV. He's only on radio now, which is a shame. And they've given us Paul Romanuk. And I find he's well behind the play. He treats it almost like a baseball game where he wants to tell stories, and his stories are very slow-paced, and I find he loses track of what he wants to say. I don't know, obviously don't know him personally, but my opinion is he's a second-rate broadcaster. We mentioned earlier in the podcast, Dave Randorf, another Sportsnet broadcaster, continues to call Vegas's jerseys black. That drives me nuts. You want to be a high-quality broadcaster? Know the color of the team that you're broadcasting. The guy he works with, Louis DeBrusque, I like where he's going. I like what Shawn mentioned. Their A-team, Jim Houston, Craig Simpson, always a classy, solid broadcast when they're on. And finally, I'll conclude with Don Cherry. Don Cherry's time has come. But he'll go out on his own terms, it seems, and Rogers is okay with that. So until all those are cleaned up, Sportsnet, does not provide a high-quality broadcast. So I am fake on that one. And on that note, let's get right into the mailbag. Mailbag. All right, in the mailbag. Now, we haven't done a good job here promoting the mailbag and asking for questions. But if you want to submit your question for the mailbag, go to the podcast page, and at the bottom of the page, you'll see a form to submit your question. Be sure to leave your name so that we can give you credit for it. It's also on the side of the page, hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. And if you don't feel like doing that, you can just email your questions in mailbag at hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. So we're going to get into it here. It's just you and I, Shawn, so I don't want to get into too many questions. We'll save some back for when we get more guys on the podcast. But this comes from Burka Circus. I happened to miss the live podcast last Tuesday. Is there anywhere I could still listen to it? Yes, I'm working on getting that up on the regular Jersey Nerds podcast stream. So yes, that will be available. I just haven't been able to put it up yet. Another one from Burka Circus. If a NHL team was doing a Minnesota North Stars throwback, which team should it be? The Wild or the Dallas Stars? Shawn, what do you think?
I have to give it to the Wild, and this comes from being a Winnipeg fan. If Phoenix ever thought for a minute of doing Winnipeg throwbacks, that's not your team. And it's weird because Winnipeg does kind of own their hockey history, but kind of doesn't at the same time. It's really weird. Like, they own the identity, but they don't own the team records, which is fine, I guess. But I'm never going to think of Thomas Steen, Winnipeg Jets legend, as a Phoenix Coyote ever, despite the fact that I think he's second in games played to Shane Doan. So, I think that Minnesota fans want to see Minnesota's old team in the same way Winnipeg fans want to see Winnipeg's old team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I got to give it to Minnesota.
Are you sure you don't consider Thomas Steen a Arizona Coyote? Because they have retired his number.
That's so weird. I don't get it.
Weird.
I get that he is – I think it was one of those things of Winnipeg loses their team, but Bettman is like, no, we're going to make it all better. And here's how we're going to make it better. We're retiring 25, so nobody can wear 25 except you can wear 25 on the current Jets, even though Thomas Steen was a major part in bringing the Jets back.
Yeah. So here's just a few retired numbers in Arizona. Number 9, Bobby Hull. Number 10, Dale Hawerchuk. Number 25, Thomas Steen. Number 27, Teppo Numminen. Number 99, Wayne Gretzky.
Teppo Numminen and Wayne Gretzky, I think, makes sense.
Did Teppo end up with?
Yes.
Yes, I guess he was in. He was in with the Coyotes for a while. Okay, that's fine. But Hull, Hawerchuk, and Steen. That's out of
Hawerchuk and Steen and Hull. Brett Hull, Shane Doan, Teppo Numminen.
Brett Hull had what? 4 games.
He played 4 games, and 2 of them he was drunk on. So
yeah. So no. Anyways, so that's I guess a little bit off, but I mean, as far as the North Stars throwback, I don't think it should happen, but I guess it did in the alumni game, right? The Wild or the Minnesota team.
They wore that weird hybrid jersey where it was the Wild jersey. It was the Wild logo in North Stars colors, and it was the 80s to 91 away. Yeah,
so I guess I would have to agree with you and the alumni game that the Minnesota Wild would be the ones doing the North Stars throwback game, but I don't think it should be done anyways. So, and pardon me, it feels like Minnesota fans are kind of they resent the North Stars. So I don't know if they necessarily. I think they would rather see those players represented in a generic Minnesota jersey nowadays before a North Stars jersey. So that would be very interesting.
I think retired numbers is something worth getting into with the Stars, though, because they have Neil Broughton's number retired, and I think he played 1 season in Dallas, maybe 2.
Yeah, did they take over? Did they bring Goldsworthy's number 8 and Masterton's number 19 when they went to Dallas? Let's find out.
I'm checking this right now. Yes.
They did. Okay.
Yeah, the retired numbers in Dallas are Neil Broughton, number 7, North Stars great. Bill Goldsworthy, North Stars great. So that's 7 and 8. 9, Modano. That's both, but definitely more so a Dallas Star.
So even Carolina, when they moved from Hartford, didn't bring Gordie Howe's number 9.
No.
Or let's see here, number 2 Rick Lee, number 19 John McKenna. So that didn't matter to Carolina. But then again, hockey doesn't matter to Carolina. So
Colorado didn't do it with J.C. Tremblay, Mark Tardif, Michel Goulet, and Peter Stastny.
There you go. So it's just
either, but
it's just the weird. I guess I understand why Dallas did it. They were trying to establish a hockey market, and Minnesota was a strong market, so why not continue on with that tradition? Arizona's just weird and will do anything to get people to pay attention to them, so that's why they probably did it. But yeah, I would say you leave the retired numbers in the city where those people made names for themselves.
Is 37 still retired by the Jets? Because that was Dan Snyder's number.
Good question. No, I don't think they brought it with them. They don't make any note of it. You've never heard it. I
can't think of a Jet who's number 37, and I mean, but that's different.
Hellebuck is wearing 37.
Wow.
So
okay, shows me. Yeah, my favorite Jet, and he's That's really interesting, though, is that the Jets' current best player is wearing a number that was retired by the same franchise that exists of a player who was killed who in theory is a Jet.
By former Winnipeg Jet Danny Heatley.
You know what? You might have a point with that one.
All right, let's go to our final mailbag question here. Oh, I'm sure this one was left by one of our fine writers or someone else. I need some life advice. All of the jerseys I'll get for my birthday have arrived, but my birthday isn't until May 2nd. How do I resist just pulling them out and wearing them? So this one seems odd. I don't understand the question. Did this person buy the jerseys for their own birthday? If that's the case, just get them out and wear them. You've bought them. You don't need to wait till May 2nd. If someone else has bought them for you and you've gone snooping around for them, how do I resist? I don't know. Take up coloring. And
put a mousetrap in the jerseys.
Put a mousetrap by the jersey. Yeah. Find something else to do. Masturbate a lot. That'll help you. Every time
remember that there might be a fake in there.
Yeah. Well,
and if you keep snooping, it's more likely to turn fake. It's just a fact.
Yeah. Snooping, just don't snoop. Just don't snoop. You're going to kill yourself. Kill all your birthday cheer if you throw on those jerseys now. Don't kill the birthday cheer. Wait until May 2nd. And then if you're not an HJC writer, take some pictures of the jerseys and send them into Hockey Jersey Concepts. We'd love to share that. So that's our mailbag for today. That is the inaugural episode of the Jersey Nerds podcast. Coming up on the website, we have the St. Andrews College Boys School Hockey Jerseys competition still going on right now. Entries due April 27th for that one. Pretty sure it's April 27th. But that's an interesting competition because if
it's April 27th.
There you go. If a winner is selected, then they will be given a jersey, an actual jersey. And St. Andrews says that they're getting Adidas to make their jerseys. So very interesting there. Very interesting. That's going on. Concept of the Week vote every week. You all know about that. As we've mentioned, get your questions in. Mailbag at hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. HJC logo stickers going on. And this week, I just bought a whole bunch of Jersey Casual stickers. So, Shawn, any ideas about some new stuff that's going on with the Jersey Casual stuff yet?
I do know. I will say I just picked up a couple new Jersey Casual stickers. The 2014 Leafs Winter Classic, what I think is a very popular one. If you don't have that one yet, I really recommend you pick that up if you're a Leafs fan. And the Jets Heritage Classic. For Jets fans, I know for a fact that we are getting some modern Jets Jersey Casual. The key thing that Steve wants to emphasize now is modern jersey. So if there's a particular Adidas jersey that you like, and with the impending alternates, if that's the case, then you need to tell us which jerseys you want, and we'll make them. We do take requests with these, within reason. So I would say that if there is a current Adidas jersey that's different enough, because if we have Pittsburgh's, classic design, that's Pittsburgh's classic design, the Jersey Casual template will look the same. Same for Montreal. We already have Toronto's up. We already have Minnesota's up. Vegas is up. But there's one that we've missed. Or even the previous Reebok Edge jerseys, some of the ones from last season, like Philly's alternate, the 50th anniversary one. If you want to see that, tell us, because we need these to make new series. I will say also that I'm working on getting Steve to make a Quebec Nordiques one. He doesn't like how it came out. I'm trying to convince him otherwise. If you can tell Steve we want Nordiques gear, then I think he'll put it up.
If there's enough interest.
No public turd burger. There will never be a public turd burger.
The turd burger needs
Steve's word.
No. Turd burger, go away. So anyways, if there's a jersey design you want to see, not only one that you want to see because we can all see them and use our eyes, but if there's one that you want to purchase that's not up there, let us know. You can email us concepts@hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. You can leave a comment on any post during the week. That would definitely get the word out. Find a way to leave some feedback, leave comments on the podcast, wherever you catch your podcast. Just those are the ways to contact us. Let us know what you want to see, because we obviously want to sell the stickers. We're not just making them to make us. Yeah, we're not just making
these
them
aren't
to
just
make
concepts;
us
they're products. So the more you guys buy of them, and Redbubble is always having sales.
Yeah, definitely.
And you can always get, if you order in bulk, I believe you buy 4, it's 25% off. Buy 10, it's 50% off.
Yeah, I just bought 4 for under $2.75 each, and that's Canadian. So I'm sure U.S. funds are different. And if you are Canadian, they have a printing house in Canada, so it's not going to ship across the border. You don't have to worry about it taking too long. If you're in the U.S., they also have a printing house in the U.S., so no need to worry about any of that. The costs are low. They're cool.
They ship quick in Canada. I will say, if you're Canadian, I ordered them about a week and a half ago. They were here within that. And for stickers, I will say, using other services like this that took up to 3 weeks, Redbubble is by far the best. So you don't have to worry about, because I know Canadian postage is notoriously slow. Redbubble actually just seems to do a pretty good job of this. Yeah,
they're great stickers, so you can stick them anywhere. It helps promote the blog, and they look pretty cool. And you can let everyone know that on that day you're going Jersey casual. That's the Jersey Nerds podcast for this week. We'll be back next week with episode 29. Shawn, thanks for joining me this week.
Always great to be on. Look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. So Jersey Nerds out there, share your feedback. We'd love to know what you think about the podcast. Goodbye, everybody.